everybody, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to introduce you to a solo RPG fantasy. This game was sent to me. I didn't buy it, so disclaimer there. The game is called Morkin, the Lords of Midnight solo adventure game. It is by Juan Diaz-Bustamante. I think I pronounced that right. And Juan reached out to me a while back and asked if he could send me a copy of it. He knew my interest in solo games and also some RPG stuff. And so he provided this along with some other stuff, and I'm going to share it with you. This is the book. It is a hardback. It is impressive. It is a the production values on it are great. I love the artwork. The artwork is incredible. If you're asking, I will go ahead and tell you the artwork is by, where is it? Artwork, Miguel R. Mata. I hope I pronounced that right. The artwork in here is, like I said, it's just, it's amazing. Now, one thing you may notice is the book is printed on black pages with white text. I've been reading through this. It takes a little bit for me. I can't speak for you, but it took a little bit for me to get used to. But once I got into it, it was fine. So here's what I know about the game. Apparently, this solo RPG is based on an old computer game. There's a history in the front of the book, and it says that it's for, what was the computer type? This was not a computer here in the U.S. that was popular. I think it was over in the U.K., let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. It was on the ZX Spectrum in 1984. I don't know. I suspect that back then that was a text-based game, not graphics, or if it did have graphics, they were probably very rudimentary. But I'm going to do a dive on it. I'm going to look into this Lords of Midnight game for ZX Spectrum. It was by Mike Singleton. And it says it's often listed among the top role-playing and strategy games of the 1980s. Well, my bad, I have never heard of it, and that doesn't mean a lot. I played a lot of text-based games from a company called Infocom back in the 80s, like Zork, and there was a bunch of them. But anyway, the game is based on that computer game, and it's designed for solo play. Now, before I get going deeper into this, because in this video I am going to make my character named Morkin. Morkin is a half human, half fae, or I'm not quite sure if it's meant to be half elf or not. But this is what he sent to me. One, he sent me the book. He sent me a printout. I think this is called A11, or I forget the size paper. This is not 8.5 by 11 standard US, but I assume that I could print this out on 8.5 by 11. But basically, it's just a lot of the charts and flow charts and tables that I will need in the game. He also sent me this fold-out map, which I have to tell you, this map is incredible. It's a hex base, and you probably can't see a lot of the detail on it, but you're going to start down here at position 1 called Tower of the Moon. And the goal of the game is to, over a 30-day period, is to make your way north up here to number 12, the Tower of Doom, where this crown is being kept. And the crown provides the power to this evil wizard that controls this area of land called Western Midnight. Now, as the game progresses, you will be moving hexes, and you can take whatever route you like. You can go west and up north. You could go east and then north, straight up the middle. There are a lot of different places that you will encounter. If they have a number, apparently in the book there is a chart or charts related to that location, because you'll get a more in-depth story going. Some of them are not numbered, but they have certain icons, and some of the icons are for ruins, some are for dungeons, some are for villages. There's all kinds of things that you can encounter as you move up this map. Now, 30 days doesn't sound like a lot, and it really isn't. But each day is broken into 4 components or 4 parts. You have morning, afternoon, evening, and nighttime or rest, or I can't remember. There's 4 of them. And each of those 4, you will be taking an action. An action could be to move. It could be, if you're in a facility or a village, it could be to hunt down someone or talk to someone. If you're at a dungeon or a ruins, you will go up against monsters trying to find some loot. There are quests, I believe, that you can undertake. But as you are playing the game, you have to keep in mind, you only have 30 days or 120 actions or type actions to get from here to up here to get the crown and destroy it. And you're going to see this in play because I am going to do some playthroughs of this game. The other thing he sent me was a miniature page of the map, some empty grids which allow you to make your own version of the map. Or once you've completed the scenario and found it, you can go back and you can create random maps of certain areas, and you can encounter villages and dungeons and things like that. Juan also sent me this sheet. This is specifically a gridded sheet where you will explore a ruin, and it's actually got the procedure tables for rolling out the entrance, a room, a door, if it's locked or trapped, what type of room it is, things like that. And then finally, he sent me this character sheet, and it's a two-piece character sheet. The character sheet's on the left, and over here is something to track the adventure and the day. And I think the idea is that you print this out and you save it in your journal or as you travel, because it will ask you what you're doing in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and at night. And you check those boxes. And for the weather, you roll every time you take an action for during the day. You roll to see what the weather effects are, because it's very cold here. Lots of winds and snowstorms and things that will slow you down. They can impede you. They can cause you to have more encounters if the weather gets really bad. And then, like I said, you have a 30-day calendar here. And as the calendar increases every 10 days, the ice sphere value goes up. And ice sphere is like this evil magic that's over the land. And the ice sphere value of 1, 2, or 3 will influence dice rolls and encounters and things along the way. So you can print out all of this. There's a link in the book where you can go get the free stuff and download to your heart's content. I have created a book which I will use as needed to track my travels and basically probably do what this page is for. And then, of course, there's a battle board where you can track your companions and their health, and you can also track enemies as you're fighting them. But not having played the game, I'm not quite sure how that will go yet. I am currently reading the combat section of the book, but I have read through the character sheet portion, or making your character, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Character creation, you have a number of things that, like a lot of D&D style fantasy games, you have you have characteristics. There's 4 that you'll recognize: strength, dexterity, intelligence, and charisma. Those are your 4 traits. Everything else that you do, combat, skills, test rolls, will all be based off of those skills, and those are based on a 100-point scale. When you build your character, the highest you can ever have is 60. But as you level up your character and increase your skills, you can go up into the 80 range, I believe, was what I read. But let me go ahead and walk through the character creation. And you'll have to bear with me because I have read the chapter, but I'm going to have to reread certain areas. And I am going to use a pencil, mainly because when you're making your character, you will be erasing and increasing numbers and decreasing numbers. So let me get my pencil real quick here. Let me find it. I do apologize. I will edit this part out of the video if it takes me too long. Pretty sure I have pencils in here. Really? Yeah. got one. All right. So the first thing I want to do is it says you're going to assign 50 points to the attribute you want to enhance the most, then 40, then 30, and then 20. So, strength obviously comes to mind if you're going to be fighting monsters, but intelligence comes to mind if you're going to be dealing with traps and tricks and things like that. Charisma, you're going to be interacting with a lot of people. And dexterity, I assume that has to do with I know it says lockpicking, but it also could probably influence things like combat. So, never having played this before, never having played the game, not knowing, let's go ahead and let's just, I think I want to do this. I want to have a good... it says strength represents power and ability to perform physical feats. It affects combat effectiveness. Dexterity says it is crucial for avoiding dangers and excelling in both combat and skills. I think strength and dexterity, I either need to have one high and one low. I need to have one high and maybe one not so low, because I also am worried that intelligence is going to come into this. And charisma, a key attribute for influencing characters and animals. It helps you get better prices when trading items. Not quite sure of how, I'm going to go ahead and put 20 in the charisma, and that leaves me 30, 40, and 50. Well, I'm going to go 50 for strength, 40 for intelligence, and 30 for dexterity. Just making this up as I go. The next thing I want to do is it says you get some skills. It says you will need to determine the starting value of each skill. And it lists them all here. And they're like animal handling, athletics, camp, defense, fishing, foraging, melee, mental, perception, persuasion. So the way they are calculated is, for instance, animal handling is your charisma value. So you just put 20 there. And the way this works is if the game asks for me to make a charisma check, I roll a D100, and you need to equal or less than your value. So I would need to roll 20 or less for a success. So obviously in a 50 with a strength, if I'm fighting, that means I've got a 50-50 chance of hitting someone. Now there are rolls where you will be, now when you swing to hit, you just roll. But the rules say there are some that you will go where you'll roll the enemy's roll as well, and whoever has the lowest value is the winner. So if I roll below a 50, but it rolls a 30 and it has a 50-50, it would win the combat, or maybe I wouldn't hit, or whatever it defends. I'm not quite sure yet. So rather than fill all these out, I'm just going to pick a few, because some of them are unusual. Some of them just depend right on a base attribute. But some are like divisions. Like this one right here is camp is dexterity divided by 2 plus intelligence divided by 2. So dexterity would be 15. Plus 20 is 35. So camping, 35. And there's another one down here like lockpicking, dex and intelligence. So it's dex half plus intelligence half, so it's a 35. And then hunting, strength and dex. So that'd be 25 plus 15 is 40. So you see how that works. Now there's a column here for bonuses. We'll get to that in a second. So once you've determined the initial values, then you get an additional 50 points to scatter amongst the skills, and you can have a maximum of 60 points per skill. So a skill can never go higher than 60 when you're making the character. I don't know if that sticks to the attributes or not. I think the attributes can go up, which will increase these. These will go up. All right, so after that, it says a bonus or penalty is applied for that skill. Okay, never mind. The opposed skill check is what I was talking about, where sometimes you might have to roll the same thing as the enemy. Now, there's something called mastery. It says you can choose one specialization to determine the area in which you are most skilled. The choice grants you an additional advantage in one skill or certain situation. Keep in mind you cannot exceed 60. So here's the thing. These are not listed on the sheet. There's a place here. Where was it? Specialization. I thought it was on here. Backpack, defense, fatigue, rations. Mastery. I knew it was. Okay, it's up here. I'm not going to read them all. There are about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like there's about 11 or 12. For example, locksmith. Increase your lock picking skill by 10, and you get 5 lock picks in your starting equipment. Ranger. Increase your camp skill by 10. Weapon master. Increase your melee skill by 10. You only get one, so you better choose it right. And again, not knowing what this is, I feel good about my strength skill. I know some of these will go up. But considering I'm moving through the wilderness, I'm thinking either hunter, harvester, which is a foraging thing, or pathfinding. And why pathfinding? Because in the rules it talks about orientation. When you're moving from hex to hex, you have to make an orientation roll. And if you are not accurate, you could actually find your way off path. And I'm just thinking, there's a lot of things on here you might not want to go near or steer around, or there's some things that you really want to steer towards. I'm thinking orientation might be a good one, like Pathfinder. All of them do something different. So you've got to pick one and you're going to live with it. So let's do Pathfinder. Pathfinder is going to give me a plus 10, or is it plus 10 on orientation? So I come down here. Orientation is based on intelligence, which is 40. And I get a plus 10 bonus because I'm a Pathfinder. Now, finishing touches. Hit points, it says you start with 50 for your max and 50 for your current. Current HP can never exceed max. Whenever you take damage, subtract damage from your current. Defense value. Defense value by taking half of your defense skill rounded down. Well, my defense skill, strength half plus dex half. 25 plus 15 is 25 is 40. So my defense is 40. And it says that your defense value by taking half your defense skill rounded down. So that's 20. So my defense value is 20. And if anybody sees any errors that I'm making, please let me know. Especially you, Juan, if you're watching. Fatigue. On your character sheet, current fatigue is 0. Max fatigue is strength divided by 5, which would be 10 for me. As you're doing things, you will take fatigue points. And at certain points, if it reaches a point, there's a penalty to, like, most skills that you do, there's a penalty if you're fatigued. And I think if you get your max fatigue, you can't travel anymore and you have to find some place to stop and rest. And it says bandages. Add 0 to the character sheet unless you're a medic, and then take 5. Okay. Rations. Add 5 to your character sheet. If you're an animal trader, get additional 5. So I just have 5 rations. Lockpicks, add 0 unless you're a locksmith. Money, charisma divided by 2. That would be 10. I have 10 silver coins. Silver coins is just the monetary value, unit value for this game. Experience is set to 0. Of course, I have 0 XP. There are conditions: bleeding, exhausted, hungry, poison, that can be checked off. Your backpack can hold 10 items. 10. And that does not count your bandages, your rations, your silver coins, I believe. It said that it's just armor and weapons. Aside from weapons and armor, you can only carry equipment that fit within the slots of your backpack. 6 items, with some special backpacks allowing up to 10. So currently I can only fit 6. It says when equipping, you can wear only one piece of armor, 1 helmet, 1 cloak, 1 amulet. And that's why it's gear here: helmet, armor, shield, cloak, amulet. So 1 piece of gear of each type. And then for weapons, you can carry up to 3 weapons, but 1 must be listed as your in hand. Okay, so that would be the first one. You get 40 silver coins to purchase initial equipment. This is in addition to your starting silver. If you don't spend that 40, whatever's left over goes to waste. So spend it. Then it says money, rations, lockpicks, and bandages do not take up space in the backpack. So there you go. And if you have multiple identical items, such as 4 spider venom sacks, they only occupy 1 space. So I've been real bad in the past about playing some games and not really paying attention to inventory. I play the typical D&D, you know, no encumbrance, no limit on carrying, but we're going to try and stick to it for this game. All right, character improvements. So just so you know, you will get XP when you defeat enemies, and there are certain other things that can award XP, like completing objectives and stuff. But for every 20 XP points that you spend, you can raise an attribute by a point. And remember, when you raise your attribute, normally this would go up, but it says instead, to apply this increase to the skills associated, follow these. If you increased a skill that depends solely on a single attribute, you increase it by 2 points. And if it depends partially on that, it goes up 1. So like defense depends on strength and dex. When my strength goes up 1, it will only go up 1 for my defense. But strength for my melee, which is 50, if that goes up 1 point, it goes up 2 points on my skill, which is kind of cool. That's kind of cool. All right. And then one last thing. Whenever you roll below 5 on a skill check, it's considered a critical roll, like a critical success. It says you immediately increase the relevant skill by 1 point up to a maximum of 80. That's for skills, not attributes. And it says melee and defense improve differently. Whenever Morkin rolls a critical during an attack, he chooses to either increase his melee or defense by 1 point. So the melee and defense skills, whenever Morkin rolls a critical during an attack. So if you're doing an attack, you can choose to either do a melee or defense. That's pretty cool. All right, that is well, I need to go back and look at the tables for weapons and such. All the tables are mostly at the back of the thing. Let's go ahead and do it. I got a little bit of time left here. Now in this, you're going to roll quests, you're going to roll names, you're going to roll events. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and trust me, we'll get to it. But right now, I just want to get the game going, and that means I need to find the weapons tables. Where are they? That's a good question. If I can't find them quickly, I will just do that offline and let you know. So camping, oh, here we go. Equipment. Equipment, armor. Now remember, I have 40 to spend. I could buy leather, equipment tables, buying price with 30, okay, buying price with 30, with plus 30 charisma, selling price with under 30 charisma. That's interesting. Buying price with minus 30 charisma. Ugh. I'm not sure what that means. It's between negative 30 and positive 30. Buying with... So I'm buying, I think that means under 30. Buying price with under 30 charisma, minus 30, yeah. So it's going to cost me 12 for the leather armor. Well, let's go ahead and do armor. We'll do leather. And that knocks me down from 40 down to 28. 28. The absorption value on the leather is 1. And bonus, I don't see anything about a bonus. Maybe that's when it becomes magical. Not quite sure. I can't afford any of the higher armors. nothing high. I could buy a shield for 50, but that would be all I had. And it can only be done with a one-handed weapon. Now, for a weapon, I need to buy a weapon. I'm basically on this last one. So 12 for a one-handed sword, 13. I can't afford the other two. So I can either get a one-handed axe or a one-handed sword. Let's get a one-handed axe. And only because it might help me with cutting down trees. I don't know. One-handed axe. Its damage is a D6. And it doesn't have a bonus. And it cost me 12. So 28 minus 12 is 16 gold. And then lastly, there are some things I can buy on the next page, some tools. I could buy lockpicks, a fishing rod, a compass. A compass is 18, although I'm already below that. I can't buy, well, I can because I've got 10 gold or 10 silver here. So I've got 16 left. I got camping gear, crowbar, thieves' tools, disarm trap tools, foraging knife, hunting bow. The hunting bow is 24. I can't afford it unless I use my 10 here. Bandages. Let's buy some bandages. So bandages are 3, and I've got 16. So let's buy 2. That leaves me with 10 silver. And with those 10 silver, there's a water of life potion for 10, and it heals D10 health. Or rations are 3. I've got 5 rations. Let's buy, I'm down to 10. I'll spend 8 of my silver that I started, and that knocks me down to 2. And that gets me a compass for equipment. And I'll write that in the backpack. And the compass says it gives me plus 10 on orientation. So now I've got plus 20 on the orientation. Just don't want to get lost. That's me. All right, I think that is all I can do. I've only got 2 silver left. Yes, that is it for my character. Now, I guess you can name your character whatever you want, but in the book it says you're taking the role of Morkin. That's why Morkin's on the sheet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up reading the rule book. I've already read the section on running the game. I just haven't got the combat quite figured out. It doesn't look hard, but I want to read it again. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this journal, and I'm going to make the rolls for my travels and things like that. And I'm going to show you how the game plays. And obviously, if you're interested in this, I will put a link to it in the video description below. I'm going to try to do one a week. Those of you who watch my channel, you know I'm sort of like, sometimes I may not post as often as I like, but I'm going to try to, I at least want to try to get one game of this played out, and so you can see how it starts and how it ends. But again, don't know. Maybe my character might die. We shall see. All right, that's all I got. This is Jim the Tabletop Engineer. First off, thank you, Juan Diaz-Bustamante, for sending over this game. I'm very impressed with this book. I would say 90% of it is tables and events. It's a lot of reference. The actual gameplay stuff is just, an early part of the book. So what you're getting here is truly a solo RPG with lots of tables, lots of events, lots of loot and things that you can find and fight and buy. And really looking forward to it. All right, everybody. I will see you in the next video. Until then, everybody, take care.
Check out the new RPG and Wargame newsletter. Each week, the Tabletop Engineer shares news, products, Kickstarters, and much more related to the gaming hobby. It's free to subscribe, so check out the link in the video description below to sign up.